Y'all, I didn't press go live. I'm sitting here like, where is everybody? And I didn't press go live, but I pressed it now. So I'm here. Hi, thanks for tuning in. Welcome to my channel. I'm Dana, the People's Oracle, and I'm just testing this thing out on y'all real quick. I got a new camera because it was time to upgrade my steez. And so here we are. It says that there's one person watching. It's probably Reed. Reed is probably the only person watching because no one else loves me. Where is everyone? Can y'all even hear me? Let's see. I can't even really set this down because my hair is so tall. I guess I could do that. I'm trying to get the light out of the picture. Trying to set up the shot, you know what I'm saying? Gotta set up the shot. Maybe I should move. Nope, I'm not gonna move that light. Okay. Right. Welcome. I really wanted to come on here. Hey, Ariana. Hi, Rising Phoenix. I really just wanted to come on here to test my camera and just like hang out with you guys. And what do you guys want me to talk about? What do you guys want me to talk about? What y'all want to hear about today? I've set aside this moment. I'm a little sideways. Oh, that's because, right. Because my body was kind of oriented towards this laptop so that I could type, but I could turn my body towards you. I think I'm facing the camera directly now. Is that crooked? I can't really tell because this doesn't have like a level on it, this little mini tripod. I'm going to have to set up my tripod behind the desk tomorrow or Friday for my actual live. Aw, thanks, Winter. Aw, thanks, Bianca. Retrogrades. Ugh, where's even my guide? Let me get my guide. I've learned that I have to stop holding so much in my head because it makes it hard for me to focus on the task that I'm in. Like, I always just have so much on my mind. This is my 2020 guide, y'all. What did I say here? So this is for May. Like the new node, I believe, in Gemini. Ooh, Nia. You don't know? Y'all. Nia don't know, y'all. We got to tell Nia. Nia don't know. This is a sidereal astrology only stream. Always and forever, never tropical. I don't even know what's happening in tropical, but I know the nodes have been in Gemini in the sidereal zodiac for a while now. So I know you're talking about the tropical zodiac. You have to catch up, boo. Got to catch up, Nia. All right, what else? These retrogrades. Retrograde, schmetrograde. Let's see. Hey, Chino. Thanks, Betty. Thanks, Shanix Ray. I don't even know what that's supposed to say. Ride or die. Gang, gang. Hey. Okay. Neglecting your workbook. Oh my God, y'all. Let me just tell you really quick. One of my favorite things about this workbook is it's okay, Nia. I love you. I'm so glad you're here. And we have to pop your sidereal cherry. That's what that really is about here. So let's pop your sidereal cherry. And yeah, the new moon in sidereal is Taurus. See, this is the thing. If you go to thepeoplesoracle.com and click shop, you can have a calendar. Yo, just wait till I show you what this look like. Y'all gonna trip out. I just got to take all my business off of here. Hold tight. Everything's uptight. All right. Okay. Wait, gotta take my business off. There we go. Right? This is what your life could be like. I don't even know how to make that focus. If I get too close, will it focus? Nope. This is what your life could be like. You could have in your phone all of the transits, new moons, full moons, conjunctions, squares, planetary sign changes in the sidereal zodiac. That way you never have to come and ask me what something is because you have it yourself. See, I'm all about empowering you. You don't need me. It's just $3. Download the whole year. You put it in your phone, right? Let's see. New to all of this, don't know what sidereal is. That's why you got to listen to my new interview on on a little Juju podcast. I tell you all about it. Why you need to be here with us in Sidereal Gang. Let's see. What did I miss here? Love what you said about helping us use astrology rather than spending time learning and studying. Yeah, I just really feel like the power of astrology is not in you spending all of your time and money trying to grasp these really complicated concepts. You could just spend a couple dollars and get to using it right away and benefit from it without having a barrier to all of this information. Astrology really is complex to know, but it's easy to use. I'm going to say that again for the saints in the back. Astrology is complex to learn, but it's very easy to use. That's why I created this. I matched today. That was actually intentional because this has been like my power color, this like turmeric, almost orangish yellow. I love it. It's so warm. It's so wonderful. So anyways, I wanted to tell you all, what would you say? I want to tell you all about my favorite part of this guide. This page right here. This page is my favorite chart part. And I love that this camera actually doesn't flip everything backwards. So if I hold up a piece of paper, you could actually read it the correct way. This is my favorite page of this guide. Planets in transits. Hey, Netta. Hey, David. But your teacher read my life. I don't have a teacher. My teacher is God and the revelation that Goddess gave me. I don't have no teacher here on earth. This is my favorite part of the guide because one of the things that I talked about on that interview on a Little Juju podcast, and I've talked about it on my Twitter as well, as how those of us who are just coming to astrology, or our first introduction to astrology is always through the zodiac signs. And as we even move through learning more about astrology, it's very hard for us to let go of this idea that the zodiac signs are the kind of cornerstone of astrology. But the zodiac signs are not the cornerstone of astrology. It's the planets. And so that's why, oh, I got you, Petty Perfect. That's why this page is my favorite, because it breaks down what the planetary transits mean in very, very, very simple terms. Actually, I was just preparing for my sermon on Friday on the new moon in Taurus. I still haven't got a title yet. I'm playing around with a few words, but I'm gonna try again tomorrow. I've been trying all week to come up with a title and some imagery for this, but looking at the chart and even looking at my own guide, I feel like I have a better idea. So just really simply on this page, planets and transits, I give you a singular word for what each planet does when it's moving through a house in your birth chart. So the sun is where you focus, right? Focus means that your eyeballs are looking at something, your conscious mind is on this topic, right? So wherever the sun is transiting your birth chart right now, the sun is in Taurus. So in this guide, actually, I give you a link to go to my website and get the instructions for how to cast your sidereal birth chart. And we don't use Placidus over here. We use whole signs, one sign, one house. I'm telling you, I'm trying to make this easy for you. Don't ask me no questions about how to make it more complicated for you. Don't make it more complicated for yourself. Keep it simple, right? Thank you, Jihad. When you coming to see me? We haven't talked in so long. Right. So wherever Taurus is in your birth chart is where the sun has been since last week. So even just the questions that I would ask in this guy have to do what are you focused on in your Taurus house? Right now, Mercury is a little bit different. Mercury is a planet that I think people have a hard time understanding because we don't understand how to separate our perception from the language and words that we use to articulate, name, our perception. So Mercury amplifies. Wherever Mercury is in your birth chart, somebody turned up the volume and now you can hear. Now, this is really interesting because at any given time, even in your birth chart, the Sun and Mercury can be in a different sign. So even in your birth chart, just aside from where the planets are transiting in real time, the Sun is where your mind, intellect, consciousness is focused in your birth chart. Mercury is where the volume turns up, language. So by transit, this means that you could be focused on one thing, but the volume is turned up somewhere else, right? It's kind of like you could be in the kitchen cooking, but you got the music playing in the other room so you can jam while you cook. Or you could be in the kitchen cooking and some people are yelling next door and it's disturbing you from whatever it is that you're doing. So these singular words are so helpful for just getting a beginning understanding. And that's what I mean by like using astrology is not the same as learning astrology. Getting enough information to use something and to make it function. Like, I don't need to know the inner workings of the combustible engine to know how to drive a car. Neither do you. You don't. I don't need to know how the plane works to even get on the plane and ride the plane. I don't need to know how my joints are connected to my kneecaps with the tendons and the cartilage in order for me to walk. You don't need to know all of the 11 million details of astrology in order to use it. You see the analogy? You're smart. You're so smart. And this is so easy. So y'all want me to talk about these retrogrades. Now, to be fair, I really did already do so much content on Venus retrograde. I did a blog post with 15 journal questions. I did a video that was like an hour and some million minutes on this Venus retrograde. And I called it on my YouTube channel. If you go to my videos, it's called Love is Blind Quarantine Edition. So I won't talk about the Venus retrograde. Thank you, Aya. I won't talk about the Venus retrograde. I will talk about the Jupiter and Saturn retrogrades. Matter of fact, let's just focus on Jupiter because Jupiter's been in Capricorn since the end of March, I want to say, and it's going to go back into Sagittarius. And I just need to tell you that I'm actually not excited about that. I'm not going to lie. I'm not, thanks, Aya. I'm not excited about it. That's just the honest to God truth, how I feel about this whole Jupiter going back into Sagittarius situation. Yeah, because like Jupiter first entered Sagittarius November. This is what I mean by I can't even hold dates in my head anymore because I got so much going on. I used to be so good at this. November 4th, 2019, Jupiter entered Sagittarius. So this whole theme of, let me just say this. I know so many of you all are new here and you guys don't know my work. And so you're just catching up like right now. So let me just give you a little revisiting of 2019, 2018 and what we were really dealing with really since January of 2017. Which that was when Saturn entered Sidereal Sagittarius. And from that moment, really, the theme of that Saturn transit for me was, how do I make my life a living testimony of my intentions and convictions, my beliefs, my moral compass, my value system, my spiritual and religious doctrine, my beliefs about the way the world works, about who I am. Jupiter is really about context. So again, going back to my planets and transits table here, Jupiter is context. And I say here, Jupiter is the context for how we understand and interpret what's happening in the world and in our lives. The topics of the house it transits is the reference point for how we integrate the new experiences that make us who we are. So in Sagittarius, right, David, how can we forget mutable madness? So in Sagittarius, which is a mutable sign, Jupiter's at home and is kind of a bully. This whole thing of interpreting everything in reference to your own politics, political doctrine, religious doctrine, belief system, this whole thing of interpreting everything in reference to your, religious text, your political value system. This is Jupiter in Sagittarius, right? Jupiter in Sagittarius since November 4th. This has really shifted the context of how we understand what's going on. And it was really quite abrupt. The way that the planets shifted from Sagittarius into Capricorn and how it changed the entire conversation. It changed the whole reference point, the whole context for how we were understanding what was happening here, right? We went from rah, 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 Medicare for all. Well, how much is it going to cost? Well, who's going to pay for it? Well, we shouldn't give. Let people keep it. And blah, 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 blah. We ain't heard not one word about Medicare for all. We ain't heard not one word about any of that stuff that in America here, the Democratic nominees or the Democratic candidates for the nomination for the Democratic Party we're talking about. I mean, we literally have not had one conversation about any of those topics since we switched over into Capricorn. I hope that you guys can really understand that, again, you don't need to know all of the technical components of how astrology works and what everything means. My goal in my work, in my guide, when I'm talking to you here on my blog, whatever it may be, my goal is to help direct your attention so that you even know what to look at. Once I tell you, what timeline a particular narrative is on, it really becomes really, really, really clear. So as far as Jupiter, currently retrograding Capricorn, going to go back into Sagittarius June 29th, I believe, 28th, 29th. June 29th, Jupiter's going to go back into Sagittarius. This switch between Capricorn and Sagittarius. In my notes for my new moon video that I'm going to do on Friday, I was writing about Capricorn and earth signs and how earth signs don't have words. What I mean by that is I can call this a glasses case, right? But I also can just pick it up and open it and experience what it is. And then I can be like, I wonder what fits in here. Does my lens cap fit? I got a little nail file because my nails be doing stuff. Does that fit? No, right? That I can understand what this is without language because I just can understand the function of it. And actually without language, this becomes much more practical that I, in the moment, in examining how this thing functions, what's the substance of it, and then I can use it for whatever I want. But once I say, oh, this is a glasses case, now it's like, oh, that's only for my glasses. I'm going to put it over there. So this is Earth. Earth is really about understanding what something is based on your encounter with it. It's about making use of something based on your tactile, tangible experience of what something is. So for Jupiter to be in an Earth sign currently since March 30th, March 29th. So Jupiter in Capricorn since March 29th, the context and reference point for how we understand reality is really this thing of, you know exactly what something is when you encounter it, right? You're making sense of the world around you. You're integrating your experiences and the things that you're learning and observing based on reality, right? So for many of us, and you wouldn't know this by looking at the news, but for many of us, Jupiter in Capricorn has been a moment to cast aside some of these political or religious doctrines that don't stand up against reality. I was just reading today about a couple of churches down in Arkansas and Tennessee who have since closed back up since they did their little opening because the pastors of the church have now contracted COVID-19, right? As well as they've passed it to several of their members. So this idea that your belief system can override reality is true, actually. Thank you. Right. This idea that your belief system, yes, your belief system can override reality, but within limits, because eventually the incongruence between the story you're telling yourself about what something is kind of comes into dissonance with what something actually is. And that's really been what Jupiter in Capricorn is about. We've all had to really deal with the cognitive dissonance of holding a belief system that is dissonant with reality. One of the really fascinating ways that we can all observe is this idea of, I'm never going to put on a mask, but I'm going to take some drugs I'm never going to put on a mask, but I am going to take this drug to prevent it, right? This idea that I can't show you that I'm afraid or that this thing is real, but secretly I believe it's real. And secretly I'm changing my behavior and my lifestyle habits in order to conform to this reality, right? These are the kind of things that we're dealing with, that how is your belief system about who you are, right? One of the things that I say often for my new peoples is identity is a belief system. It is a narrative and a story that we necessarily tell, right? That when we have experiences, we integrate them into our existing belief system until we have an experience that's so earth-shattering and mind-blowing that it disrupts our belief system, and we're forced to form a new identity or new belief system, right? So we have these beliefs about what we would do in certain situations, how we respond to people, how we communicate, how we relate, the things we eat, where we would or wouldn't live, the way we would be treated or would not be, except being treated from somebody, right? These are all a part of the belief system of identity. And each of us have our own individual belief systems of identity, but we also have these collective belief systems of identity. We have these shared identities that Jupiter really, really, really speaks to. But because of the way the human mind works, the belief systems that are shared, we don't really have this clarity about we don't often have the clarity around where our collective communal identities, whether they're political or spiritual, racial, right, where those separate or differ from our individual identities. In this way, Jupiter and Venus are connected because they are both articulating this idea that who we are is actually shaped by relationship and community. It is not separate from relationship and community. The identities that we carry refine over time as we find communities and relationships that align more deeply with how we're experiencing ourselves at any given moment. But the fact of the matter is that this is what this work is really about, with Jupiter going back into Sagittarius. Really finding the communities of people whose belief systems align with yours, being able to clearly articulate your politics and your spirituality, reintegrating everything that's happened over the past, by the time we get to June 18th, let's see, April, May, it'll have been about 2.5 months that Jupiter spent in Capricorn. So by the time we get to June 18th and June 29th, sorry, and Jupiter goes back into Capricorn, we will be integrating what it is that we've experienced doing Jupiter in Capricorn. So the question really is, how is the reality that you're confronted with right now in your Capricorn house, how is that changing your fundamental belief system about the way the world works? That's really the question, right? How is your encounter with reality? How does this languageless encounter with what is, right? Right? The whole example I gave with this glasses case. How does your literal, not symbolic, but literal encounter with the reality that you're in right now, your life, whatever the topic of your Capricorn house is, how is that changing your belief system about who you are? How is that changing your belief system about the way the world works? How is that forcing you to make a decision about what you believe and how you embody those convictions, right? One of the uncomfortable things about Jupiter in Capricorn is that we often find ourselves having to embody or confront situations that require us to act contrary to what our stated identity or belief system is. And this is so important that we have a solid and flexible sense of self that can withstand those difficult decisions that we have to make around choices that we're forced to make. I really want to answer your questions. I really want to kind of engage and talk with you guys. I know there's a little bit of a lag here because of the latency. That's just making sure that the video stays nice and clear. I'm receiving an error now. Yeah, I really want to answer your questions. So I'm gonna give y'all a moment to catch up with everything that I just said while this thing is lagging. And that Destiny asks, so a person with no earth in their chart is out of touch with reality. No, actually, I wouldn't say that. There's more than one reality. There's material reality and then there's conceptual reality. Material reality, we know what it is based on our encounter with it. We know the substance of something and its function based on our encounter with it. That I don't really need language to understand what something is. My body can communicate things to me. I have the sense of touch, taste, smell, hearing, and sight, and that's going to communicate what something is to me. I don't necessarily need the language to encapsulate what the material reality is. But the other side of Saturn is actually Aquarius, which is conceptual reality. And this is where the symbolism comes in. And conceptual reality often is much more powerful than material reality because we hold these languages that shape perception and reality for us, that really prejudge things for us. And with that, we project it onto what is, right? This leaf is green, right? This is something pretty benign. But a leaf being green, the concept of green, I look at it and I'm measuring I'm measuring what I'm perceiving materially with the concept that I'm holding in my brain, right? So conceptual reality is the language and the words that we use to shape, name, and really tell story about what is. So no, a person without earth in their birth chart is not out of touch with reality. A person without earth in their birth chart, their life experiences have told them that they actually cannot trust the encounters that they have with reality. And as a matter of surviving in whatever environment they were brought up in, it was more important for them to understand the consensus and the concept of what something is, right? So inherent in not having any earth is actually that life has taught you in some ways not to trust your sense of touch, not to trust your sense of taste, not to trust, what you're feeling from physically from the world around you. Right? That in some ways you must trust the consensus, other people's perceptions, that you must be able to conceptualize things, right? So no earth does not mean out of touch with reality. It may mean a difficulty or just a lack of usefulness for engaging with material reality in a way that informs you what it is. I hope those words made sense. I felt like I used a lot of them. So what's y'all questions? I'm watching a chat screen here. I should type it though because y'all got questions. We just testing this thing out. I guess it works. So when I come on here on Friday, my setup is looking right and tight. I'm so excited about this, y'all. This camera is the bomb. I'm looking shimmery and shiny. Shimmer and shine. In not trusting your physical self, there is a body disconnect, but also I find myself using concepts to create a physical reality I can trust, or I think I can trust. That's the Aquarius, Ezra, right? The Aquarius is the reimagining. Where's my little notes? I made some notes. Every now and then, while I'm in a reading, I say something really smart, and then I'll be like, dang, that's dope. Let me write it down. So that happened. Which note is it? It's this one. In my note. Live, love, Libra must have kids because she knows, or they know, Shimmer and Shine. Okay, Netta. Okay, Netta. I got you, Netta. Okay, right. I wrote, this is good for you, Ezra. This is really good for you. I hope you're taking notes. What I'm about to say. This for you, boo. Leo, the sign that is the domain of the sun. The word I wrote on my little paper here is witness. And Aquarius is imagine or reimagine. So just take those concepts. The sun is the witness. It's the observing, perceiving faculty. Saturn, and this is the Aquarius air, masculine, yang, diurnal side of Saturn, is imagining or reimagining. Now, these two things are very much tied together, right? Right? These things are very much tied together. So, just think about that in the context of your chart, Ezra, that what you witness, you too, Destiny, right? What you witness versus what you imagine or reimagine or conceptualize something to be. And Aquarius is on the conceptualizing, reimagining side. So even in that, there's something about not trusting your perceptions, or that the witnessing aspect of who you are has not been reinforced as a valid, accurate entity or aspect of yourself. Okay. All right. I see y'all. My heck, I hear about people saying to work with our charts, or quote, work with our charts, end quote, a lot when referring to tough placements. What does that mean in terms of things we can practically do? The most Capricorn question. Well, luckily you're talking to a Capricorn Sun and Mercury, so I love those. Just as far as the sidereal zodiac and using your sidereal birth chart in general, one of the things that often comes up in my readings when people are switching over and really coming to understand themselves in this new language is that actually there's nothing that you have to do. You've been living it your whole life. Now, once you really start getting acquainted with your birth chart and understanding what it means, really, for me, working with your birth chart means being able to interrogate the narratives that you tell and believe about who you are, right? And really learning to discern between what is native and authentic to you and your experience and what is something that you have adopted as a means to survival or being in relationship and community in the human world, right? So sometimes that means, for example, let's say you don't have fire in your birth chart, right? You don't have fire in your birth chart means that trying to motivate yourself to do things with willpower, expecting to have a strong sense of entitlement around, hold on, what did Reed sent me 30 minutes ago? Expecting to find, embody, cultivate a sense of entitlement that, has you taking risks, that has you holding on to your belief system even in the face of disagreement, that has you believing what you're perceiving, even in the face of gaslighting or people denying your reality, right? When you don't have fire in your chart, those things are really, really, really difficult for you. So working with your chart can mean, one, recognizing that that's just a tool that life did not give you, right? Often when you lack fire in your chart, it means that in your home and family life and upbringing, your will was actually ineffectual. So doing something because you're capable, you believe in it, or because it's something that you perceive and understand, that was not responded to, right? That was not responded to, reinforced, or validated. So it's not an aspect of yourself that's been cultivated. Working with your birth chart for me, again, in that context means really understanding the role of relationships. That if I don't have fire in my birth chart, the people who come into my life probably are going to irritate me when they have fire. because maybe they don't have any air. So they struggle to see things from another person's perspective. They struggle to disconnect from the impulse to act and consider the consequences. They might struggle to just take things at face value and always are looking at things too deeply, right? So relationships are so pivotal to working with our birth chart. Understanding what we have and what we lack, understanding what that means, and understanding how our relationships really are meant to fill in the gaps of what we're missing. That's what working with your birth chart means for me. Okay, let's see here. Cassandra Levy, what does imagination look like for earth signs if it seems like they are too attached to the conditions of reality, especially when they are oppressive? So again, I'm going to say the same thing to you, Cassandra. This really has to do with what your toolkit is. The first thing I do in my natal chart reading, so the foundational sidereal birth chart reading or the sidereal birth chart reading plus forecasting and predictions, and the comparison reading, the tropical versus sidereal comparison reading. The first thing that I do in those readings is to break down the elements and the modes and what that means, right? So the elements are your toolkit that life was like, hey, you need all this fire. You need a strong will, a strong sense of entitlement in order to function and survive in this world, so on and so forth. So oftentimes when I see these very strong patterns of one element dominating or one completely missing, this is a sign to me that this person has a very special thing that they're supposed to be doing, right? If you are so dominant of earth that you're missing other things in your chart, you are the person that people are supposed to come to get a grip on reality. And it may be difficult for you to imagine or reimagine things. You might not find value or resent the idea that you can think of things being differently than what they are, right? And this is not a shortcoming, remember? So it's so important that, that you have people in your life that can provide for you what you're missing. This doesn't have to be romantic relationships. Reed, that's my boo. Reed is my resident Scorpio, right? Reed and Winter. They're my resident Scorpio and Leo. And they really teach me some of the things that are just not natural to me. And it's been a huge part of my growth because I don't have no Leo, right? I got a lot of Saturn and a lot of Jupiter and Venus, right? So Mars is just not something that is, life was like, hold off on that Mars for right now, because that's not really going to serve you in this environment. Autonomy, breaking the rules, acting in accordance with your own capabilities, like that's not going to serve you. You'll have time later in your life to cultivate that, but right now it's not going to serve you. And so then fast forward, I get into a Mars profection, right, last year, and I have these people in my life that teach me Mars, because again, it's not something that's natural to me. So relationships really are the key. Let's see, Chino M. In what ways might our physical bodies respond to these retrogrades? Because I've been feeling all over the place recently. Chino, that might be really unique to your chart. If you are sidereal Capricorn rising or sidereal Taurus rising, then these absolutely are going to affect your body physically. Also, if you are sidereal Capricorn moon or sidereal Taurus moon, it's quite likely that this would affect your physical body in that way. Let's see. Donovan, so how would the new moon impact someone whose second house is Taurus? Donovan, tune in Friday at 12:30 p.m. right here on YouTube for my new moon tarot reading. While I won't be able to talk about the specifics of individual birth charts, trust me, you'll get everything you need from that, okay? Let's see. Jimmy Image. Does it change anything when planets go retrograde and you already have the planet retrograde in your natal chart? No. Let's see. I'm having trouble communicating my question. I might have to add you on Twitter. I'm feeling all cloudy. Okay, I'll check it out because I got my iPad. I need to book that parenting with astrology reading with you. Oh, right. Yeah, Leo. Hot. I definitely am the opposite of that. I'm usually a woman of action and finding the current times pretty difficult because I can't act safely right now on so many things. So Netta, I got to re-up that tweet for you about Aries. Hold on. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find it for y'all because I told y'all. I really did. I really did tell y'all that Aries was about to get that work. Yeah. Danielle said, in the bushes, watching your live camera and mic setup was A+. Thank you. You guys are so funny. I see y'all. Got sidetracked looking at my mentions. Okay, let me find this tweet for y'all. Aries. Oof, shoot. Wow, really, Dana? I'm looking at y'all. I need to book that parenting one too. I'm mildly embarrassed by this question. How can I use my chart? Ooh, I'm gonna answer that. Hold on. Let me just get this tweet for Netta and all my Aries folks who are struggling out here. Hold on. Oh, was that it? Was that it? No. Um. mm. Hold on. I'm looking. Hold on. Be patient with me, y'all. Okay, it was definitely before this. Oh no, not that far back. Okay, hold on. Where did I write that? Doggone it. It's on my Instagram, so maybe I can find it quicker that way. Oh, okay, not that far. Okay, this is what I wrote for Aries. This was from February 10th, so I have to find those tweets. I'll re up them. Aries, in 2020, persistence works in the form of collaboration and self discipline. You know how bad you really want it based on how willing you are to proceed past your personal limits and into the vulnerable space that depends upon the insight and input of others. Okay, so now that I found the date or a word, I could look again. How do you even spell persistence? Hold on. Okay, here we go. This for y'all, Aries. Aries, beginning in 2020, your work is to learn the limits of force. These people should have just listened to me. Whatever. Force is an easily accessible tool in your personal toolbox. It is your go-to way of solving problems and handling conflict. You push and push and push. Aries, what can you do when the other person won't budge? The obstacle is unmovable or impenetrable. You're going to face a lot of unmovable people and impenetrable obstacles in 2020. Strategic planning and partnership are your friends. Get familiar. So just know that in 2020, we're all Aries. Just accept that, okay? Aries, accepting that your capabilities don't define the limits of possibility will free you in 2020. What does that mean? Meaning that just because you can do something does not mean that is what should, could, would be done. Okay. You might have to bump your head once or twice, but you'll get it. And right. And then here's the other tweet about persistence works in the form of collaboration. Okay. There you go. Let's see what I miss. How can I use my chart to learn how to feel emotions without forcing logic? Other people. You cannot do this work without other people. It is not in your head. It is not an intellectual problem to be solved if you just move the right pieces, add the right equation. Relationship, relationship, relationship. We are humans who are social creatures. We are not meant to have everything on our own. We are not meant to have everything, every element and every sign and planet all in perfect balance. We are each here to contribute something unique based on our experiences and the way that our formative relationships have shaped us, right? So these are not problems that you can solve just by intellectualizing them and studying and practicing. You really need people in your life. How do you learn how to feel emotions without forcing logic? Learn to tolerate the discomfort that you feel around people who you call overly sensitive or who easily access that feeling nature. Learn to tolerate that discomfort because the discomfort is feeling. That's the very feelings that you're having trouble feeling, right? So learn to tolerate the discomfort of other people's emotions. That's how you learn that, all right? Do you use the dasha system? I am not a Vedic astrologer, so no. Are sidereal astrology and basis similar in any ways? No. That is a totally different thing. Let's see. Let's see. This is bronze, the sun in Aries. Anything in Aries. Anything in Aries. Don't matter. Sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, rising. Okay. Yep, you got it, Destiny. Hello, Libra, right? When we get to this Mercury retrograde in Libra at the end of the year, that will be Aries' opportunity to practice being a part of a relationship and not having to always rely on the impulse to act, but really understanding what can really be accomplished when you use partnerships strategically. That's going to be a lesson for all of us this fall. We're all going to be learning how to kind of tame our individual will to act and control and get free, and understand that liberation, freedom, and autonomy is most easily won when we come together and get it. Right? What else y'all got for me? Sonetta said, eye twitches. You guys are so funny. It is still light outside. Won't the sun do it? Ugh. I love talking to y'all. I love answering your question. Don't frown, Netta. Don't frown. Let me just tell you this, like, y'all be wanting to grow up and work through stuff. This is it. This is it. When you feel that resistance that's pushing back against you, you got to figure out what you're going to do. You're going to fall back on your old habits? Are you going to, gain a new skill? Are you going to reach out and figure out a new way to cope? That's what this is really about. Can you explain more why you're not happy about Jupiter going back into Sagittarius? Because when Jupiter has been in Sagittarius, everyone just gets so self-righteous, and everyone is a preacher and a historian, and they're all ahistorical, making stuff up. That was one of my keywords for Jupiter in Sagittarius. Ahistorical revisionist history. We get a lot of that, right? Jupiter is caught up in the Mercury retrograde, is caught up in these last two eclipses in Gemini and Sagittarius. And so people are going to go back on top of their soapboxes yelling. And I do think that things are just going to open back up, and we're not going to be any longer relying on the pressing reality of the virus being around us, and we're going to have to fall back on some other things to help us determine how to act. But COVID-19 is going to turn into a political thing. It's going to turn into this huge political thing. It's been kind of abated right now, but it's going to get loud. And my advice for you is to choose very clearly what side you are on. I know that people love conspiracy theories. I know that there is voter suppression and all of these other things that make it difficult for us to trust that believing something and living in our convictions is enough to initiate change. But the only way it's going to happen is if you get as much audacity, as much gumption, as much entitlement as the people who are out here like, I ain't never wearing a mask and I'll cough in your face. You have to have just as much entitlement as them. You can't look at them and judge them for being entitled, because now you're just moral posturing, right? The goal is not to tell other people how wrong they are. The goal is to enforce your belief system, right? And if you're on the side of justice and fairness and morality, you have an obligation to develop the sense of entitlement that's required to bring about the changes that are going to liberate us. You have to have that audacity. That's really the word. I just pulled my chart based on your instructions, very heavy in one corner like the other chart. What does that mean? It means that all your planets are in a few houses. Just listen to the Juju Pay podcast. You are having a great day. Oh, thank you, Lynn Equity. Yes, yeah, Netta, man, that's really the thing. That we're not going to like it because it's taking us out of our comfort zone, right? It's taking us out of the very thing that life has continually reinforced to us, that this is what works for you. And so now it's just like, actually, This ain't working for you. It's not working. It's not working this time. Will the Taurus Scorpio eclipse guide be out in time for that first eclipse in June? I am really, 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 really trying. But last week I just really burned out over this past weekend. Let me show you. Let me see if I can show you some of what I've actually done already on this eclipse guide. I actually did this like last year, beginning of this year. Why do I have two eclipse guide folders? Because okay, this is not the final iteration of this, but this is part of what's in the guide. So let's see here. This is the eclipse guide from 2019. And I did something similar here, right, where I broke down all the mutable signs as redefining truth. So in the Taurus Scorpio eclipse guide, which is going to be for 2020 to 2022, will be in these eclipses. Safe body and sound mind, the axis of survival. I feel like this. I feel like I actually am. I'm gonna call the Taurus Scorpio eclipse guide "Staying Alive." Right? Let's see here. Martha Wren, should I refinance at low rates and remodel my home? Cannot read your personal birth chart here. When will be a good time to book the Saturn return reading if my Saturn is in Aquarius? Give it a couple years. Saturn will first enter Aquarius in 2022 and it's going to dip back out in 2023. So just give it some time. God willing, I will be around and will give you kind of insight and instruction on how to best proceed with that. Has anyone else been feeling an aversion to meditation and daydreaming? Like, I'd much rather focus on what I can touch. That's Saturn, E. That's Saturn. That's Capricorn, right? And that just might be your chart, especially if you're having your Saturn return. One of like the notable features, like if I were to write a checklist of how to know if you're in your Saturn return, probably number one would be like, have you lost your capacity to reimagine and hope? Have you found yourself feeling like lead, heavily weighted down into your current reality, unable to escape even with your mind? Do you feel forced to confront exactly what is in your face? That's how you know you're having a Saturn transit, because you just can't smoke it away. Can't wear those credit card bills out. That's how you know you're having a Saturn return. You can't smoke it away. You can't sex it away. You can't drink it away. That's how you know. I find myself feeling a lot of fear around certain transits. For example, every time an eclipse happens. Well, first of all, you've survived so many eclipses. Like, how come every time, like, you like, no, this is gonna be the one to take me out, to totally, I feel you. Like, I'm not even making fun of you, because like, that's the kind of anxiety that I deal with. Like, that these repetitious fears just keep coming up, and I like, no matter how many times they turn out to be unfounded, I'm still like shaking in my tube socks. You know what I'm saying? For me, and this is astrology or anything, for me, how I deal with those fears, whether they're related to something astrological or not, is people in my life, other people's perspectives, insights, judgments, understandings, and interpretations of things. We need to have our perception of reality challenged, so that we can imagine things being another way, right? Right? Let's see. My nose is so tickly. I need some nasal spray, and it's time to take my medicine. Let's see here. Yep. Oh man, I love y'all, but anyways, how long have I been on here? It's been about an hour. I'll stay on for a little while longer. What else y'all got? What other questions do you have? Right, but you survived it. Like, that's the thing. You were changed by it. It shook you. It might have traumatized you, but every next transit is an opportunity for you to work through it. And you just got to find your audacity and courage to confront reality, right? And not shield yourself from it. You understand what I'm saying? Growing up means that you got to face stuff head on. And sometimes you need somebody to give you a pacifier, right? And that's okay. That's really okay. You know, that's really okay. Oh man, my nose is tickling. Let me tell you, 2019 was one traumatic experience after another. But some of the experiences were so traumatic to me that it actually shook me out of old trauma. Like, that's how intense it was, you know? Um, so, yeah. Yeah, man. That's what that be's like. Any advice for starting to look into your child's chart before booking your reading? You know what? I'm going to tell you this, guys. This right here, and I know I'm trying to sell these, but also this is dang good. This 2020 guide, I'm telling you, just go just go look at the tables in here. Start with your kids' rising sign, right? Just start with your kids' rising sign. If I can find the right page, right? So it says here for you guys, ascendant, self, personality, things that happen to you, actions you take. All right, well, what's your kid's rising signs? Mine is Virgo, right? So already, my child is Virgo. Calculates, processes, analyzes, and puts in logical orders using numbers, symbols, organizes in categories. Work with it. Work with it. It requires you to really observe your own behavior because I'm very Jupiter. I'm very Sagittarius and Pisces, and he's very Virgo and Gemini. And so my brain just knows how to pick up on stuff. I have that intangible knowing that I don't need people to say things to me literally or list them out. But he's very literal. And so I'm learning that I have to list things out for him and put them in order, right? That's as simple as it is. Just start with that, you know? Everything's there. Let's see. How are Saturn return and Saturn transiting the moon? Oh, that's a really big question. I can't even. I can't. I love you, but I can't even. I've been less and less concerned about myself and the individual, more concerned about my family, my friends who are close. Do you think that's something that's triggered by these retrogrades? Honestly, I would look at your chart and see what's happening with your moon in your third house. What's happening with your moon? What's happening with your third house ruler? What's happening with your fourth house? That's what I would really be looking at to see what's happening there. Because some people don't really care about their family members. So I don't think it's something that's universal to these transits that somehow we're all becoming aware of. It really depends on your chart. If you have Aries, Capricorn is in the overcoming superior position. And so Aries really has no choice but to surrender to Capricorn. And in this case, Capricorn and Saturn, the reality we're facing is a pandemic. And so either you put the limits on yourself or Saturn puts the limits on you. It doesn't mean you're always going to get sick and die, but the reality is that threat is there, and you have to negotiate with that reality to see how much of a risk you really want to take to expose yourself to that. Any wavy book or podcast? No, I don't have no books. The only books I have, Vedius Valen's anthology is free. You can download that. Dorotheus of Sidon, Benjamin Dykes. Matter of fact, I would say this: go look at Benjamin Dykes' websites, at his website, or you can look up Benjamin Dykes where you like to purchase your books. I don't suggest Amazon, although such is life. But go look up Benjamin Dykes, and anything that he's translated, go with it. I've got a few of his books that he's translated. Those are very, very difficult. But again, I'll repeat this for you. You don't need to learn astrology to use astrology. It is a very, very serious undertaking to begin studying astrology. And so, do you though? I mean, some people are going to become astrologers. So start your journey. That's where I would start. Start with Benjamin Dykes, right? What is the most clear take you have on the current COVID crisis? My state opened early. I have already done my take on that. I made a video on March 18th, 2020, where I laid out the timeline where I suspected that the COVID-19 actually initially emerged near the new moon in Virgo back at the end of September 2019, and that more than likely we would be dealing with this as a pressing reality at the very least through February of 2021, when we have a huge, massive stellium of planets in the sky in Capricorn. That means literally, what's the date here? I believe it is February 9th. I believe that's the date, 2021. 2021. Yes, February 9th, 2021. Every single planet in the sky is in Capricorn except Mars, Sun, Mercury, Moon, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn. So we got to get to that point, okay? Let's see here. My Jupiter return starts in January. Did you mean started in January? That's a little bit too much for me to answer, E. Quinn, hey Dana, I'm late, so let me know if you've covered this. I've been losing my cool this week. I'm so terrified I can barely function. Every day seems like an eon. I'm barely making it. Is this Saturn? This is a balsamic moon. Balsamic moon makes the balsamic moon is like the moon in the tarot deck. That the moon is about, all the lights are off and you can't see nothing. You don't know what nothing is. You could be in a room full of $1 million, but all you hear is rattling, so it sounds like a bunch of moths, right? And so you are forced to kind of project onto what's happening around you what it is, because you cannot see to know and understand. And so this is what balsamic moons are like. It's like it gets dark and you get a little angsty and you get a little fearful because you cannot see, the light is waning. And so because of the way capitalism works, capitalism and balsamic moons are antithetical to each other, because balsamic moons are about decreasing energy, decreasing intellectual faculties, increasing getting in tune with your body, increasing need for sleep, decreasing ability to use words or articulate in an intellectual way, increasing sensation, tactile way of interfacing in the world. On top of it just being a balsamic moon, which happens every month, moon has been in Aries this week. Especially yesterday was a really difficult day for myself and a lot of other people, because the moon was square Saturn from sunup to sundown. I mean, it was all day. And that Aries moon square Saturn is just really, 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 really hard. It's really, 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 really hard. Things should ease up once we get past the moon on this Friday. Sorry I'm scratching my face and stuff, but I have really bad allergies and my medicine is wearing off. So my nose was just like, yeah. Let's see here. Definitely moving back home because of the pandemic. That's really what happens. Yep. Okay, guys, I think it's time for me to go because I think I'm getting tired and I need to go take my allergy medicine and go check on my kid and give him some attention. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Please join me on Friday, May 22nd at 12:30 p.m. Central Time. I'll be posting a graphic for that sometime tomorrow, but I'll be live streaming on both YouTube right here with my new setup and on Instagram tomorrow. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm at People's Oracle everywhere. Just check out A Little Juju podcast. I just did an interview. Juju Bay hosted the We Gonna Be All Right panel back in April. And after that, she invited me to be interviewed for her podcast. And we did that. Okay. We did that. I just love our mutable, just ping pong party effect that we have with each other. Check it out. Anything you want to know about Sidereal, me, where I come from, why I do what I do, how I came to know what I know, and why it's imperative for us to embrace this framework of divination for liberation at this time that we're learning that we cannot trust the authority systems and structures. And many of us have known this all along, but it's a pressing present reality for us now. And it's absolutely imperative that we embrace belief systems that empower us spiritually, that give us a way to engender agency that has been stripped from us politically, that has been stripped from us economically, that God has not left us powerless. God has not left us without tools. In that moment when your will becomes ineffectual, when your capacity to reimagine what is becomes ineffectual, this is where our divinatory spiritual tools come into use. They are meant to liberate us. Your divination tools cannot help you if you're only using them to try to win capitalism, because you're oppressing yourself in that system, right? So that's all I have to say. Love you guys so much. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you guys again soon.